Hi, welcome to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get up close and personal with San Diego businesses and the people that are making a difference in our community. I'm your host, Barry Waxler. The focus of our show is to find the businesses that make San Diego America's finest city and see what makes them tick. We'll be looking at both for-profit businesses as well as the nonprofit sector. And joining me on our show are our co-hosts today, Al Arias, founder of AV Arias & Company, and Andrea Kay, host of the Andrea Kay Show. Today on Close Up, we'll be talking about our new book, Stop Bleeding Cash, the 6 ways that people lose money without even knowing it, and how to stop the bleeding, focusing on taxes, home loans, credit and credit card debt, healthcare expenses, business expenses, and insurance premiums. You work hard for your money. Wouldn't it be nice to know how to keep more of it in your pocket instead of letting it go to the government, the banks, and the insurance companies? Also in focus today on Close Up is an in-depth interview with our co-host, Al Arias. His background will surprise you, including some tidbits on how he avoids taxation and circumvents a lot of the unwanted expenses in your business. Finally today, we'll wrap our minds around our other co-host, the always interesting and enlightening Andrea Kay. For those listeners that want to be heard, feel free to call my office at 1-800-341-5433. We'll be happy to discuss any topics that are relevant to your business. You can also email me at bwaxler@barrywaxler.com or visit us at my website at www.barrywaxler.com. We'd love to hear from you. Now let's get started. Welcome, Andrea and Al.
Hey, Barry. Glad to be back.
Great. Glad to have you.
It's my first time, Barry.
Your first time.
I'm getting lucky. I'm glad.
We have a first-timer here today. That's great. That's great.
It's not your first time with me, though, Al. Al and I go way back.
Oh, way back.
So glad to see you, baby.
Thank you.
So,
hey, on last week's show, Barry, we learned a new Barryism, a new Barry term.
I like that Barryism. Let's keep it.
Yeah, and it's been my favorite term of the week because it's spendability.
Spendability.
Those of us who like to spend money, we want to make sure that our money becomes even more spendable.
Yeah, well, our goal is to show you how to get more money without having to earn any more. Make your dollar stretch further than it does today.
Well, but we like the part about earning.
See, well, the earning is another factor. So if we can make this dollar stretch more than earn another dollar, then you have twice as much as you had before.
Yeah, and then that's twice as many shoes that you can buy in the Nordy shoe department. My husband's not listening, I hope.
Yeah, well, we'll work on getting Nordstrom on here and get you some extra discounts too. How's that?
Awesome. All right, so we talked about your book. That's really where the term spendability came from.
Right.
Your Stop Bleeding Cash. And that's not the first book that you've written before. You've actually written some other ones, and you didn't get them published. This is your first one to publish.
This is the first one I'm actually taking out. We have agreements set up with Amazon, Kindle, and of course we'll probably get into Barnes & Noble and some of the other ones, and with both hardback books as well as the ebooks.
Well, you are so busy with your business itself and your financial planning practice. How do you find the time to sit down and write a book? And this not even being your first one.
Well, it's one thing to tell your story over and over again. It's another thing altogether to be able to tell your story. It's interesting. One thing that just came to mind was I remember about 10 or 12 years ago, I got introduced to my first ebook. Okay, it was a book by Seth Godin. And Seth wrote a book called Unleashing the Idea Virus. And it was all about, old style of business versus new style. And if you take the old style of business, you had to go out and create your message, find somebody to tell it to, and have that person find somebody else to tell it to. And by the time it got to the 4th or 5th generation, it had petered out and there wasn't anything there.
That's like that game we used to play in high school, right? Where you line up in the gym and you start telling like one little gossip to the person next to you by the time it gets down to the end. I mean, it's a completely different story.
Yeah, now you go to the gym and everybody's got their cell phone there and they get it on Facebook and Twitter and before you know it, I mean, Seth wrote in his book on Unleashing the Idea Virus how to get your message out via Hotmail, which was the new item at that time. Obviously, it's
Hotmail ain't hot anymore, really.
No, not anymore. But it was where you could get on and you could tell your message to 1,000 of your closest friends. Okay, now that number is dwarfed by the Facebooks and Twitters and what have you. But it's a great way to get the message out. So when I decided to write the book, I decided to write something that was easy for everybody to read. So I hired some people to help me write this, to put it in 8th grade reading language. We want to make sure that anybody and everybody can get that message. Okay? I wanted to make sure that it was done in a short fashion so you could get in and out of it. The financial topics are very difficult for many people to assimilate.
It's intimidating.
It is, very much, very much. So we decided to put it in short form fashion to get everybody the ideas. If you get the concept out of the book, concept of how to manage finance and how to increase the spendability of the dollars that you have, then you'll be infinitely better off to get started that way. So it's not an expensive book, and it's one that can be downloaded onto your iPad, iPhone, Android, and anything you want. It's a book that we can get to you in hard copy. You can order it on our website. And I think it'll help out a lot of people.
Well, I think it's nice of you to do that because you're really sharing an asset that you have. I mean, I'm not an expert on assets and liabilities. That's Al. That's your business, Al. But I mean, that is your asset. It's your intellectual, property that you're sharing with people. I mean, why share that? Well, why give that away?
It's interesting. I come from a family full of educators. I grew up in Philadelphia. And my father was a school teacher. My mother, before she became sick, she was a school teacher. My grandfather, my grandmother, what they did was they learned what they needed to learn, and they shared it with people. And I think one of the things that sets me apart from a lot of my peers is the fact that I try to educate. I take what they've taught me, and I want to create it in an educational fashion. Not a you can lecture or you can teach. If you lecture, you never know who's going to get it. If you teach, they get it right away. Well,
speaking of teaching, how come you didn't become a teacher? I'm just curious. How'd you end up a financial planner instead of a teacher, since your parents were both teachers?
I have been called a workaholic many times in my life, and if you're in the education business, you're locked into a schoolroom or classroom, what have you. I like getting out and helping people, and the teachers are wonderful. I think that's a fabulous profession. But I wanted to be out and about, and I work too much, so I'm probably not going to be too good stuck in the classroom.
Yeah. Well, you're teaching in a way, with your book.
Still, every day.
Yeah. So we talked about one of the things that you're teaching in your book, which is spendability. What else can they learn? What else are you going to be teaching in the book?
Teaching the 6 major topics that people can look for to maximize their finances, create more spendability. We talk about how to stop the bleeding with taxes, which we have our co-host Al today. He's going to help us on that one. Home loans, how to manage your debt. That would be anything from mortgage to credit card, credit lines for your business. How to deal with healthcare expenses, business expenses, and most importantly, insurance premiums. And each one of these areas, there are so many different ways to maximize the spendability. If you can find something that typically is not taken under a tax deductible form, and it's legitimately used in a tax deductible form elsewhere, we need to find the way to get that in there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, one of the things you talked about last week in your book was in regards to these different trades is that they all have a different language, and that's partly what makes it intimidating for people, and that you kind of break that language down and help people to understand that, right?
Well, the real issue is to make sure that you have your clients or my clients' advisors all on the same page. Okay. I can think specifically of one client in particular that Al and I share. That as a CPA, he has a certain language he uses, and
It's all about the terms.
It's all about the terms, yeah. You know, that's
as in T's and C's, Al?
Something like that. There's a lot of teasing in taxation.
So one thing I do a little better than Al is break it down to the 8th grade reading language. So when we have those mutual clients, you know, he tells them one thing, they forget it by the time they get home, and then they call me up and I clarify it for them. So,
no, but that's the life of the advisor.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, you're more in like the freshman class, Al, and he's like down in the 8th grade. So you're like the upperclassman to Barry, right?
No, I'm in grad school.
Ooh, ouch. That's why now you folks are listening. You can't see Al, but Al. My nickname for Al is going to be Al Sunshine Arias, because Al just brings the sunshine to the room, doesn't he, Barry?
He does. He's. I can see the sun shining over him as we speak.
Yeah, well, he's got that upper class aura thing about him, right?
Yeah. So
okay.
All right. Glad to have you here with us, Al. And we're going to learn more about Al coming up in the next segment, aren't we? We're going to get down deep with A.V. Arias and Company and learn about tax strategy.
Yeah, I think one of the great things that Al brings to the table is we have many people that do tax planning, tax preparation, and a very common practice that's much needed for people. But for those that have a little bit more challenge than others and need strategy, I have never in my life met a strategist that does what this guy does. So that's a great thing.
Everyone needs strategy.
Well,
it's all about strategery, as
but
George
we're
Bush
talking
said.
tax strategy now.
There's all kinds of strategery going on out there.
Yeah.
Particularly between men and women. But that's a topic for another day.
Right. So,
anyway.
Well,
I'm not touching that one. My wife's listening.
Okay, you're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get up close and personal with homegrown San Diego businesses and the people that are working to make a difference in our community. This is financialnewsandtalk.com, and I'm your host, Barry Waxler. We'll be right back after the break with more homegrown business Close Up. Hi, this is Barry Waxler, your host of Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get close up and personal with San Diego business and the people that are making a difference in our community. Stop Bleeding Cash is the name of my new book. It describes the 6 ways that individuals and small business owners lose money without even knowing it. And more importantly, how to stop the bleeding. You work so hard for the money you earn. Learn to know exactly what to do to stop the bleeding from taxes, home loans, credit card debt, insurance premiums, business expenses, and healthcare expenses. Learn what the institutions know, how money works, and how you can avoid the pitfalls of poor planning while getting the maximum spendability of your money. Get online at www.barrywaxler.com and get your copy of Stop Bleeding Cash. Or call my office today and get your copy at 1-800-341-5433. Again, that's 1-800-341-5433. I know you'll say what so many of my new clients tell me over the years. Why didn't my advisor tell me that?
Taking care of business. Woo! Taking care of business. Taking care of business. Taking care of business.
Hi, welcome back to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get up close and personal with homegrown San Diego businesses and the people that are making a difference in our community. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, President and CEO of Universal Financial Consultants Corporation, where we teach people how money works every day. Knowledge is power, and understanding how the institutional world thinks gives you the competitive edge you need to succeed. Along with me today are my co-hosts, Al Arias of A.V. Arias & Company, a firm that specializes in the art of tax strategy, certainly not your everyday tax preparation firm, and from our own financialnewsandtalk.com, the lovely and talented Andrea Kay.
Oh, thank you. All thoughts with which I agree wholeheartedly. And we were talking, before we went to the break, we were talking about a very important term. We talked about spendability, and then we talked about strategy. We've been talking. We were going to talk strategy with Al from AV Arias.
Well, let's deal with some strategy. Al, tell us a little bit about your company. What do you do, and what makes you a little different than others?
Well, we're a full-service firm, accounting firm. Full service means we do audits, reviews, compilations. We do litigation support, consulting, a variety of services, and we're most known for our tax strategy. But what makes our firm different is that we are partners to our clients. So we try to, and we do get into the heads of our clients, identify what their goals and objectives are, and come up with things that help them achieve what they're trying to achieve. So in many cases, they have problems that they've identified, but they also deal with problems that haven't been identified. That's where we come into the picture. And over time, our clients make more money.
So this is, I mean, we were talking earlier, we were joking about like underclassmen versus upperclassmen. So to use that analogy, people think of accountants and they think of somebody that you go to, you know, on April 1st with your shoebox full of receipts to have somebody, you know, do a plug and play of, you know, on their tax return. You know, that you are way beyond that. You're about a strategy overall, that it's not just about plugging in numbers at the end of the year and then seeing what comes out. It's about prevention of problems and dealing with problems on a greater scale.
Right.
Right? I mean, did I explain that right?
You got there.
Yeah, I did. But see, that's why we need to come to you. I'm not even strategic enough to know how to phrase the question, Al.
We begin with the end in mind.
Ooh.
Okay. So the client has an objective, an end in mind.
Okay.
That's where we begin with that in sight, okay, and work towards achieving what's there to be achieved. So it's not just about the strategy, it's about implementation of the steps to solutions that bring the results that are intended.
So that hopefully you're avoiding the need to use you for litigation help. Correct? Or is that
You can get in fights, and we're good fighters. So where, you know, the Internal Revenue Service, the various states that we represent our taxpayers, we have clients throughout the United States. We have many clients in the Northeast, in the Midwest, and, of course, in the Far West. So we're nationwide.
Al is so cool. He's nationwide.
Yeah, well, I find it
soon
interesting.
to be international.
Yeah, no, I find it
Well,
interesting.
you get that way because of having a strategic approach, and because you implement the steps. What's really different about my firm, it starts with partnering with the clients, and along the way, it's the implementation of steps. So, yeah, you can have a great strategy, but if you don't implement, if you leave loose ends, you will lose if you're challenged. And here I'm thinking of taxation, but it's across the board, so that you have to present your financial statements in a way that impress players like the bank and others, insurance companies, sureties, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these parts of business require strategy if you're going to be able to optimize results.
Mm-hmm. It's about you say your focus is on the end, but there's also a beginning as well, because that's how you come up with the steps, though, right?
Well, the beginning is trying to understand the client and what they're trying to achieve and how they go about achieving it. And it's how they go about achieving it where you can identify strengths, weaknesses, threats. It's the old SWOT approach to consultation.
Yeah. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business on AM 1450 and Financial News and Talk, financialnewsandtalk.com. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, with our co-hosts Al Arias and the lovely and talented Andrea Kay. Just had to do that one more time. So Al, one of the things that I think is unique to what you do, and being experienced with it firsthand, is seeing what it looks like when you do an integrated tax plan. The unique part about that is it takes all the data, it puts it in one source, and it puts an action plan in there that each step of the way, so you and the client can work on it in a strategic fashion. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's amazing how many steps it takes to achieve a strategy. I mean, especially if you're using multiple entities. If you're not using multiple entities, why aren't you? Because the way that the rules of taxation are adopted by Congress advantages certain types of entities. So if you want to have fiscal years and you want to have fringe benefits, the type of entity that achieves that is a corporate entity. If you want flexibility, you use LLCs, taxables, as partnerships or as S corporations. And LLCs can even be disregarded entities. And the disregard may be useful for income tax purposes and be an advantage for asset protection purposes. So all of these things, I hope I'm not making them more difficult than they are to understand. I said that I was the master's degree guy.
Well, one of the things,
and then Barry explains it down to where people can understand it.
Barry makes graphs, You walk out with a graph. This is the way it goes,
Yeah, Al, you're the college professor. I'm teaching kindergarten.
No, I can pull it down, but it's not my real strength.
Yeah. It's important to know your weaknesses, isn't it?
Yeah.
I need Barry around.
So tell me something, Al. Tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get into what you're doing now? Where'd you get started?
Where did I get started? That's interesting. I was a football player playing football at Pierce College.
Ooh.
And on my way to USC, right?
Oh.
Yeah, but I was 5'8" and weighed 150 pounds, was slow and had bad hands. Oh, really cool. So I only played for 1 year, and along the way, I got a scholarship to go to University of Southern California. I was studying food distribution because my employer, the one that gave me the scholarship, was a supermarket chain. And so I was going to become an executive in the supermarket field. At least that was the objective then. And I took beginning accounting and was the top student in beginning accounting. And my professor was, I wanted to be like Mike.
Oh, yeah.
My professor, he wore Armani clothes, This is before Armani. But.
Right. But he was like the Gordon Gekko of that
no,
time, right?
He was really cool.
He was slick.
Yeah, he looked something like Michael Douglas.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, a very impressive guy with a great personality, et cetera, et cetera. And I wanted to be like him. So I dropped.
And now we all want to be like Al.
So anyway, I dropped the objective of food distribution and adopted the objective of becoming a CPA.
Now, what happened with the chain that had thought that they were going to have you in their grasp forever?
Oh, I say never burn bridges.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So I've stayed friendly with the chain forever, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and it made my life. So I graduated #1 in my class. I can brag a little. I graduated with honors, et cetera, and then
from USC with honors.
And I went on to. I'm getting signals, but anyway,
that's just your thoughts in your head, Al. Go on.
At least they're thoughts and not voices.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
So anyway, I got a job with then Peat Marwick Mitchell & Co. At that time, Peat Marwick was the #1 firm in the world. And I became a partner in that firm and left that firm in 1980 and started my own firm. Along the way, I worked in the national office in Washington, D.C., where I was a resource for the worldwide practice of Peat Marwick Mitchell. And I lobbied for proposed legislation. I worked with staff members of the House Ways and Means Committee, Senate Finance Committee. I got private letter rulings, technical advice requests, and things like that. So it was an incredibly sophisticating environment in Washington, D.C., and then came back, worked in the Los Angeles office for a while, then became a partner in the San Diego office of Peat Marwick Mitchell. Left there in 1980, started my firm.
Wow. Well, no wonder you're able to put together a comprehensive plan for people, with that background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm a lucky guy.
Now we're spreading the luck to all our listeners too. So, well, you're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business. I'm your host, Barry Waxler. We're on AM 1450 and financialnewsandtalk.com. I'm here with our co-hosts Al Arias and Andrea Kay. We'll be right back after the break.
Every day, taking care of business. Every way, taking care of business. It's all mine. Taking care of business. Working overtime. Woo! Taking care of business.
Hi, this is Barry Waxler, your host of Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get close up and personal with San Diego business and the people that are making a difference in our community. Stop Bleeding Cash is the name of my new book. It describes the 6 ways that individuals and small business owners lose money without even knowing it. And more importantly, how to stop the bleeding. You work so hard for the money you earn. Learn to know exactly what to do to stop the bleeding from taxes, home loans, credit card debt, insurance premiums, business expenses, and healthcare expenses. Learn what the institutions know, how money works, and how you can avoid the pitfalls of poor planning while getting the maximum spendability of your money. Get online at www.barrywaxler.com and get your copy of Stop Bleeding Cash. Or call my office today and get your copy at 1-800-341-5433. Again, that's 1-800-341-5433. I know you'll say what so many of my new clients tell me over the years. Why didn't my advisor tell me that?
Taking care of business. Woo! Taking care of business. Taking care of business.
Welcome back to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we're looking at homegrown businesses close up. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, and I'm here on financialnewsandtalk.com with Andrea Kay and Al Arias.
Well, we've been having some fun, haven't we?
We
Who
have.
who knew that talking taxes would be fun and interesting, but it actually is.
Well, there's a first time for everything, isn't there?
Yeah. So true.
So, well, we're back. Let's talk a little bit more, Al. We started talking about how you use an integrated tax plan. Tell us a little bit about that and how that can help one of our clients out.
Well, there's fundamental things that you can do with multiple entities. Number one, for a C corporation, it can have fiscal years. So instead of having a December 31 fiscal year, the taxpayer can choose to have any taxable year, January, February, March, like that. And we like January fiscal years, March 31 fiscal years, and November 30th fiscal years. It has to do with things that can be achieved using accounting methods and using deferral. And the overall, the first thing that you can achieve is split your taxable income with a corporation. So if you're a person paying income taxes at a marginal rate of 39.6, you can split off $100,000 net taxable and pay a rate of 22.5. So right there is, more than $10,000 of savings, and you haven't started.
Wow.
So
Talk about spendability increases.
That's what it's all about. Maximize the spendability. I know one of my clients that I introduced to Al. It took a while to get it through, but the net result was, they sold their business for a handsome chunk of change, and they ended up saving $503,000 in taxes.
Wow,
that's the exception, or that's the higher end of a lot of this. But it was we had a pretty happy client.
Yeah. Did they give you a nice thank you gift? Would you?
They paid me.
Oh, there's nothing better than a signed check to say thank you, right, Al?
Yeah.
That's correct. That's how you make me happy.
Yeah. So, Al, tell us a little bit about what type of businesses you can really help.
Well, right now I have a niche with service industries. There's 8 activities that are picked on by the Internal Revenue Code. And it's basically service professionals. So if you're an engineer, you're a healthcare professional, you're a consultant, a CPA, an architect, an actuary, like that, and entertainment personnel. They're picked on by the service. They can't have fiscal years. The first dollar that they make in a corporation is taxed at the highest marginal rate, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, these are really nasty rules. And the way service professionals typically organize, if they're going to organize as an entity, they organize as an entity taxable either as a partnership or as an S corporation. If they organize as a partnership, everything that they make is subject to self-employment tax. And that tax, if you're somebody making a lot of money, that tax is huge.
Yeah.
And so a favored activity a favored way to organize would be as an S corporation, because the net taxable income of an S corporation is not subject to self-employment taxes. So you just keep piling up all of these benefits by having the C corporation in the environment that allows you to income split and enjoy multiple fringe benefits, and an S corporation that allows you to reduce the amount of taxes that you pay in the form of self-employment taxes. And it just goes on. And you have a partnership entity to achieve certain pass-through advantages that are available to partnerships. You have trusts that allow you to enjoy asset protection, pass-through, and even other benefits. So it goes on and on. So the multiple entity approach is fundamental to maximizing your tax benefits. Now, there's threats that you have to face. You have to have economic substance to the way that you're organized.
What do you mean? What do you mean economic substance?
Economic substance is...
Translation, Barry?
The translation is you have to have a business purpose for doing everything. Everything has to make sense.
Thank you, translator.
Yeah, it's pretty significant. It's Section 7701, paren O, close paren.
I don't know if this is true, I heard that the tax code is 75,000 pages, and if you read 100 pages a day, it would take you years to get through it. Does that sound about right?
It's taken me more than 40 years to get through it.
Yeah, that's why we hire Al to read those books.
And we hire you to translate Al.
That's right. That's
okay,
right.
Gotcha.
I never knew I was a multilingual translator here. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business on AM 1450 and financialnewsandtalk.com. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with co-hosts Al Arias and the lovely and talented Andrea Kay. I came up with that this week. I just have to keep repeating that.
And you know how happy it makes me to hear you say it. So.
Yeah. So,
where do I send my thank you check?
So,
how about over here?
Yeah.
Anyway, well, tell me, Al. Let's talk about the type of businesses that you're looking for. We've talked about how you can help and what have you. We're talking service businesses. Can you do things with manufacturers? How do you help with other types of business?
Well, the service professional is picked on in Internal Revenue Code, And most people are not focusing on that. I like to focus on that.
Okay.
Service professionals make a lot of money. Now, businesses of any type can use the strategies that I'm describing. So I like business entities. My sweet spot is between $3 million and $50 million in sales per year, and we can achieve very significant business and tax benefits for companies of that type.
Well, and we got quite a bit of that here in San Diego.
We do.
Yeah, San Diego is a bit of a different marketplace here. You know, we have a lot of anything from, it used to be just military and tourism, and now we have some technology here. But we are a far cry from the Los Angeles market.
Well, we're a small business capital.
Yeah.
So if you're working for the national firms and you're looking for listed entities and companies with multinational activities, you're not going to find a lot of them here. I mean, there's Qualcomm. There's some big businesses in town, but it's not the norm.
Right.
This town is a small business town.
And yeah, and there is a lot of people have the impression nationally that San Diego is a surfer town, and it is, but it's also a town of entrepreneurs, and that's what I think of when I think of small business. I think of people with a dream and an idea, a product or service they want to bring to market, and you know, we have quite a bit of that here. I mean, I don't know the stats. I don't know how many of those businesses we have here. We have a lot.
Well, I think we're probably one of the self-employment capitals of the world here. So,
I think so.
Yeah, we've got a lot of biotech and we've got a lot of manufacturing, but the service industries you're talking about, Al, we've got so much of that. We've got a lot of healthcare companies that provide in-home healthcare services, and
this is a great place to live. Why do you think service professionals?
Right. Yeah, I mean,
it's paradise.
Yeah, I mean, for many years it cost more to live in San Diego than L.A. because you know this is where everybody wanted to live versus L.A. You know, are you glad you're here versus L.A., Al?
Yeah, I am actually. So I'm gonna, I'm going in the hole there.
So if you're a San Diego business and you want to be on Close Up San Diego, all you got to do is go to BarryWaxler.com. We've got a Be a Guest button on the website there and a little short questionnaire for you to fill out, right, Barry?
Fill out the questionnaire. That'll tell us a little bit about you, what you do, how you do it, and give us some information that we can use to bring you on as a guest. And take your message to the media.
Now, on one of the breaks, we were talking about small business in San Diego, and you had a great piece of advice for it's really great business advice for anybody, but for small business people, Al, you had a piece of advice which was, and I wrote it down because it was wisdom. He said, be loyal to your referral sources. Right? That's such a great piece. He's grinning. Al Sunshine Arias is grinning over this. Why is that so important for people to understand?
Well, basically, you have to network to succeed in business. It's a fundamental form of marketing. And the service professional, I mean, I'm a service professional. That's how I do it. That's how I've been doing it for more than 40 years. So you violate a referral source, don't expect any more referrals.
Right.
And the whole idea of loyalty is fundamental. It's just a moral principle that works in business. If you're not loyal, where are you going to go?
You know, there's a side benefit to all that, too. When you take all of your financial service trades, from insurance to investment to mortgage to tax and legal, and you have a group of people that work well together, and you keep everybody on the same page, again, it goes back to that same term. You're going to maximize your spendability by having everybody sign off on this same issue and stay on the same page. That's one of the things we're working on, which I hope to introduce on the radio here very shortly, how to develop your own client advisory board and get your advisors working for you on a more regular and frequent basis.
Well,
partner up.
Yep,
yeah.
Partner up. So.
Yeah.
Great. Well, you are listening to Close Up on San Diego Business. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, with co-hosts Andrea Kay and Al Arias. We'll be right back after the break.
taking care of business. Taking care of business. We've been taking care of business. We've been taking care of business.
Hi, this is Barry Waxler, your host of Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get close up and personal with San Diego business and the people that are making a difference in our community. Stop Bleeding Cash is the name of my new book. It describes the 6 ways that individuals and small business owners lose money without even knowing it. And more importantly, how to stop the bleeding. You work so hard for the money you earn. Learn to know exactly what to do to stop the bleeding from taxes, home loans, credit card debt, insurance premiums, business expenses, and healthcare expenses. Learn what the institutions know, how money works, and how you can avoid the pitfalls of poor planning while getting the maximum spendability of your money. Get online at www.barrywaxler.com and get your copy of Stop Bleeding Cash. Or call my office today and get your copy at 1-800-341-5433. Again, that's 1-800-341-5433. I know you'll say what so many of my new clients tell me over the years. Why didn't my advisor tell me that?
Taking care of business. Woo! Taking care of business. Taking care of business. Taking care of business.
Hi, welcome back to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get up close and personal with homegrown San Diego businesses and the people that are making a difference in our community. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, President and CEO of Universal Financial Consultants Corporation, where we teach people how money works. Knowledge is power, and understanding the institutional world and how they think gives you the competitive edge you need to succeed. Along with me today are my co-hosts, Al Arias of A.V. Arias & Company, firm that specializes in the art of tax strategy. It's certainly not your everyday tax preparation firm. And from our own financialnewsandtalk.com, the lovely and talented Andrea Kay.
Thrilled to be here.
She's walking on a cloud today.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Al, let me discuss one thing with you. You know, I've known you for probably 15 years now, and the one thing that I find unique is not only have I known you, you have quite a large staff, and I've known many of them for virtually the same period. Tell me about your company and how you're set up there.
Well, this particular staff is the best staff that I've had, and I started in this field in 1965. So this team is exceptionally talented and just that, a team. So I have 6 members of management. One of the persons has been with me for 30 years, another for 18 years. All of them have multiple years experience. They're all trained in the tactics and strategies and implementation of tactics and strategies that we espouse in our clientele. So it's really a pretty strong team. And I have some young people on my staff that have IQs like 140.
Wow.
I mean, we're talking some really bright.
I'm going to stay away from them.
people. Yeah.
Barry,
So-
you'll need somebody to translate them for you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they're
Quite true.
graduates of USD, of
Wow.
UCSD, of San Diego State University, and other universities. So they're all of the above. We are proficient in Spanish and actually Korean. So
Korean?
yeah. So and Japanese. So we have all of the above. I mean,
Wow.
we're cooking.
Well, I guess, Asia is really, according to a lot of people, that there's just a lot of business going on, a resurgence of capitalism, if you will, over there. So I guess maybe, Barry, we need to learn some Japanese, and maybe we need to learn some Korean.
No, I think I'm going to return the favor to Al. He likes to ride coattails. I'm going to ride his coattails on this one.
He can translate that for you, huh, Barry?
Yes.
Good
yes,
answer.
Yes.
Hey, what do you do for fun, Al? I mean, you're in that's some heavy business you're in, helping people with this kind of strategy. How do you go have fun?
I go to the opera. I go to the ballet. I watch the Chargers. I see 40 Padres games.
Okay.
I go on my daughter's yacht, stuff like that.
Okay, did you say yacht? Yeah. Okay, now you got my attention. Yeah, the opera, you lost me at opera, but you got me back with the yacht, brother.
It gets my attention.
I think we're going to record the show from your daughter's yacht next week.
Hey, I'm all in.
Yeah. So.
Well, yeah, because you got to unwind, right? You got to go and relax a little bit.
Well, I used to play tennis, but I lost my wheels.
Your wife was a great tennis player too, wasn't she?
5 times Grand Slam champion of women's tennis in Mexico.
Wow.
Wow.
She was a solo ballerina.
Wow. Yeah. You do have good taste, Al. I must
Laurita
say.
bonita.
Yeah. See, we're covering all the bases today.
Absolutely.
You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business. I'm Barry Waxler, your host. We're on AM 1450 and financialnewsandtalk.com. I'm here with our co-hosts Al Arias and Andrea Kay.
Hey.
So.
All right. So your book.
My book.
We keep talking spendability. It keeps coming up. So, that's just, I think it's an important, that's the way you can get it down to the 8th grade level to where somebody like even I can understand it, with terms like spendability and how to make money work.
Yeah, it's interesting. I used to do a lot of public seminars. I may get into some more here in the future, but when I did those seminars, we had brought in other people who wrote the books on the topics we were talking about. And everybody, I saw a big difference between the people that wrote the original books. That was, I never forget going into a friend of mine's house up in Portland, Oregon, and seeing the original manuscript of the book. I can't even remember the name of it. Anyway, it was the manuscript. It was 300 pages, like reading War and Peace.
Oh, wow.
And then I met another author that addressed the same topic, and she said to me, we do everything down to 8th grade reading language because people can't get through the regular books. So we did that. And, this book is all about teaching everybody from your typical everyday worker into your CEO. Give them the concepts and give them the topics to address that'll increase the ability of their money to spend more, or spendability.
Now, does the book just help people to start to get an understanding, or are there actual suggestions in there? Is there things that people can actually take from this book and go? Because Al talked a lot about implementation. It's great to have a strategy, but now you got to put it in play. Does the book help with that, or is it just a way to get your head around some terms?
Little both.
Okay.
Both. The idea is, everybody's situation is different. Everybody has their own independent needs, and my financial needs are different than yours versus Al's and everybody else. So we can't address solution to everything, but we can identify the problems. And most people have this. How do I phrase this without insulting people? People ignore the situations that they're up against. Okay, and
that's so common. I mean, it's human nature.
It is, and if you don't take a look at it, if you don't address your situation, how can you come up? How do you even understand? What you're facing versus and on top of that, getting the solution together. So what we do is we address the 6 main topics of where people lose the most money. There are other things. Most of them are going to tie into one of these subjects, bleeding topics, as we call them. We address the problem. We identify the problem, and before you can identify a solution, you need to source where the problem's coming from. So that's what we really focus on, is getting people to the source of the problem, and then cultivating a plan one-on-one that fits their specific needs.
Yeah, and the reality is the problem ain't going away.
No,
it's not going to go away. In fact, it's only going to get worse. So you might as well just get an understanding of what the problem. And everybody has problems, so it's not like it's an indictment of you as a person if you have a problem. I mean, we all have problems, and it's just I'm glad to know that there's a resource out there that can help people quickly and in language they can understand. Here's the common problems. Now go to Barry and Al and get some help, right?
Right. And one of the things that we do as planners is we become the point person. Al is very good in his firm, as a point person when we need somebody to get in and do some specialty trust work. We have the law firms that we all know how to deal with. When people come to me, I'll know exactly where to take them. And it's like, would I take every single client over to Al that needs tax preparation work? No, that's not what he does. But we take the ones that fit over there, and then we take the clients that fit another situation to another tax firm if needed, just depending on what it is. And from mortgage to loan modification to
insurance, I think you talked about earlier too.
All different types of insurance. I get people calling me up saying, how do I find this? And what I'm looking for, there's two things that I look for. Okay, I look for people that want to. I look for a client loyalty as well as advisor loyalty. Okay, when a client comes to me and says, how do I deal with something that's absolutely not in my line of expertise, but I can refer them to somebody, because one of the great things about my business as well as Al's is we deal with a multitude of businesses. It's not like we haven't dealt with your type of business or your type of employment before. We've dealt with all of it. Hey, there's nothing new.
Yeah, it's kind of like going to a doctor. You're always embarrassed, if you got to go to the doctor and talk about something that you find embarrassing, and you always tell yourself, hey, the doctor's seen it before. Well, it's the same way with you. Okay, don't be embarrassed. You've seen it before, right?
It's the same thing. In the medical field, it used to be, when I was a kid growing up, we'd go down. We actually had the doctor's offices in the basements of the houses down the street from me, and we'd go in there, and it was a general practitioner. If you had a cold, he'd give you whatever kind of antibiotic for the cold, and if you needed your gallbladder removed, you'd meet him in the hospital and be the same guy doing it all. Today, they can't afford that liability, nor can the financial trades. We have specialists. Doctors have your cardiologists and your urologists and whatever the profession is. Everybody specializes. In our business, we specialize too. And anybody that takes on more than they really can, it becomes a problem for them. So we want to make sure that we have a resource for everybody. And we've called this a resource center before. It's a great place to go to get everybody on the same page, because I know when I call your attorney, typically I've talked to him before. The way I work with a lot of different professionals. When I call your accountant or your insurance broker, I know exactly where to go with everything. I become a point person for people.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, and sometimes you point him towards Al. Sometimes not.
We like to point them towards Al.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't mind being pointed towards the yacht we talked about earlier.
That's right, Al. The more yacht time, the more referral time.
I've got MapQuest.
Point that out.
I've got MapQuest. I've got a GPS device to direct me towards it.
Right.
We're ready.
So you're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business. I'm Barry Waxler, your host, here with Al Arias and Andrea Kay. AM 1450 and financialnewsandtalk.com. We appreciate your listening and look forward to talking to you next week.